A super thanks to get things going on today's live NFL Daily Mailbag. Marcellus Lifts says, I'm happy with the Savone Revel pick, but I'm curious what you think about Caelen Carson's future. Could he be CB4? Only asking because I feel like the previous staff was pretty high on him. Love the show. First off, thank you, Marcellus. I like the independent of fandom. I think the Revel pick on day 3 was good value for the Dallas Cowboys. Caelen Carson, the Cowboys did have a pretty high grade on. Year 1 was pretty rough. And I know he had the shoulder injury. I think that was kind of a shoulder injury where he could have kept playing, but at a certain point, it was just kind of like, okay, let's settle things down and then go from there. I think year 2, you're hoping for a step forward season. I think in an ideal world for Dallas, Caelen Carson beats out Kaiir Elam for the number 2/number 3 corner job until Trayvon Diggs ends up getting healthy. There's a real chance the Cowboys move on from Diggs this time next year. He's off the team. And then it's Bland and Revel and maybe Carson. Or they added a different nickel in there, and Carson does become that CB4. And if you can get a good backup QB with that kind of anything in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's actually a really good pick. This came in via Super Thanks. It is a feature on YouTube. It's like a super chat on live shows, except it is outside of live videos. Click the $sign with the heart around it, edit your message, send in whatever, and we will give you a shout out on the show. Just going to go with F. Joe here. Do you think we need another developmental player with how poorly we played last year? When is the last time a developmental player overly succeeded for us? So I asked Joe to clarify, hey, which team? Because it's kind of like the one Batman Beyond one where it's like, do you have any idea in the slightest how little that narrows it down? It's a lot of teams that this ends up applying to. And I think there should be a balancing act. You don't want to go just production or just, proven with big playability or big production. You also don't want to just go traits because both have downsides. You ideally have a great athlete who also produces. Those guys tend to go super early. So different teams, different situations, different everything all kind of ties into where things currently sit. Like, do you think you have coaches who can develop players? If so, okay, then maybe you have more pursuit there. But I think these days, a lot of the development comes in the offseason with the personalized and specialized coaches you hire. Duke Manyweather for the offensive line. You draft an offensive lineman, he's working with Duke Manyweather. I actually feel pretty good about that guy developing more. If you're a team like, for example, some teams I think have more success with positions than others. Like if you're a Steeler, if you're the Steelers, for example, and you draft a receiver, you normally end up getting pretty good results on those guys, like historically speaking. If you're Kyle Shanahan and you draft a running back in the 3rd round, the guy you draft in the 5th round ends up being better for whatever reason. I don't want to stereotype too much, but I think you need to have a balance. You don't want to have just production, just tools, mix and match, and that's why the draft isn't an exact science. It's actually not easy to draft. Now, when it comes to the draft this year, who won the 2025 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. John Dorman, predict the NFC North records and order. First off, what a good division that is. I feel like no matter what order you put them in, I'm going to have upset fan bases at me. So I apologize in advance because I think all 4 of these teams legitimately should be viewed as playoff contenders, and if they make the playoffs, they could potentially make some noise. So I'm going to go with I'll go Packers 1 because I really like Matt LaFleur and I think Jordan Love's going to have a big-time season. God, you could put him at 4 and it would have been fine. I'm just going to go in here. Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears. And I think we have a real chance at the almost never seen all 4 teams finish at or above 500. Like, I think all 4 of those teams are real playoff teams. Probably comes down to some teams going to have a bad injury and end up falling to 4. True or lore, I think we'll see Brandon Aiyuk on the football field. I think he's a chance for week 1. I wouldn't put that in stone, but it wasn't a good injury. I think maybe the PUP list is where he starts. I think over-under, back from what? It got hurt in like week 7, whatever. It's probably a decent over-under. Josh, so is Kirk Cousins just not going to get traded? I don't know. It's not Cleveland anymore. They drafted 2 QBs. I feel like you're not going to go trade for Kirk Cousins then. Kind of feels like outside of another injury happening and something else slotting in, and then you just go there like the one Sam Bradford trade all those years ago, which was an overpay. He's either back in Atlanta as the backup and they move on from him next year, or if the Rodgers-Pittsburgh stuff never gets sorted out, kind of feel like Pittsburgh fallback is Kirk Cousins. So, will the Falcons end up trading away Kirk Cousins, say before the season begins? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Christopher, will the Patriots trade for any more wide receivers? I'm going to go with probably not. If anything, they might try to shop somebody because they've got Stephon Diggs. They signed Mac Hollins. They drafted Kyle Williams in the third. They drafted Jalen Polk in the second last year. They've also got guys like Javon Baker and Pop Douglas and Kendrick Bourne, and I feel like Kayshon Boudy's going to be on the move there. So that's a lot of receivers for some competition, and somebody else will, probably end up being on the outside looking in. I don't think there's going to be any more big trades by New England, at least not this offseason. Tony, I think the Chiefs did well in this draft. Frankly, I give it an A+. I gave it, let me double check my notes here and make sure I don't misspeak it. I did give it an A as well. I thought they kind of cooked on day 3. I thought Jeffrey Bassa, Brashard Smith, even some of those day 2 picks, I thought they did a really good job. It's not a surprise. I think Josh Simons was a perfect fit back in round 1. I like a lot of what KC did. Skibbity CD, how good will John Mateer be in the NFL? That is the Oklahoma quarterback who transferred in from Washington State, if my memory serves correctly. We'll do a 2026 mock draft that I'd make all the picks, and I'm going to mention a bunch of other QBs to monitor. He'll be on that list. I am excited to see how he plays in the SEC. I think that there's a little bit more optimism about this QB class because there are some young guys that showed some promise and could take a big-time step forward. So I want to see how this year plays out, but I promise you he is on NFL teams' radars. If you guys enjoy our NFL mailbags, sweet, we appreciate that. Help us out. Hit that sub button for more free NFL YouTube videos. Skyler, my brother's a huge NFL fan. Thinks Jaydon Blue will be RB1 and be the franchise back. I think he's got the big playability to be an impactful piece. I don't know if he has the body type to hold up with like I think a franchise like a Saquon Barkley, a Derrick Henry, even an Aaron Jones type. Like, I don't know if he has the body armor and the size and the power to hold up in that role. But as like a 1A, 1B in a committee with maybe more of a power back you get next year, or if Jamal Williams or Javonte Williams wants to take another role, yeah, I think there's a chance he could lead the team in rushing this year, but at least be a big time third down piece. I don't know about franchise running back. Like I don't picture him in the same mold as like an Emmitt Smith, a Zeke Elliott for this team. LaCora Victor, the prime versions of those guys, by the way. Should the Bears sign Nick Chubb? If so, will they trade away DeAndre Swift? Because I believe Swift wants to start somewhere else. I'll say this. I don't think anyone's signing Nick Chubb to be a starter. Like to not be like the true lead back. I could see a scenario in which the Bears do sign Nick Chubb and they kind of go with that committee. But I think Swift is in line to get the most carries in Chicago. Nick Chubb, guys, he was bad last year. Now he's coming off a bad injury. The fact he's able to play is kind of impressive. I like him as a buy low candidate, but I don't know how much the Bears trust Roschon Johnson. Kyle Monangai was a 7th round pick. I think Swift is. I would not be surprised if the Bears sign Nick Chubb. That makes sense to me. I think he fits the schematics of what they want to do on the ground. But I think Swift is still your RB1. MA football guy, man, big dad bod here. I love my Patriots' first picks being on offense, but I agree with you on the Ashby pick. I think the Patriots had more picks than anybody else this year. I believe that was the stat I saw. And I like what they did a lot. Again, I thought Kyle Williams, Will Campbell, Henderson, Jared Wilson. That's a really fun grouping of 2 trench players and 2 explosive playmakers on offense. That's awesome. I thought Farmer was a good pick in the 4th. I just don't know if you need to draft a kicker and a long snapper. Like, did you need to? It's also a 7th rounder, so it's not that bad. Like the worst case at the seat. From Sam, which wide receiver will Green Bay trade? Romeo Doubs / Dubs. He found both pronunciations. Probably. I mean, Dubs was the one who had issues last year with the suspension and whatnot. Christian Watson is probably not going to be healthy this year coming off the knee injury. Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, maybe there's interest in Dontavian Wicks, but Doubs has more production. Savion Williams is going to need some time, I think, to kind of develop a little bit. If they get a good offer for Doubs, I could see it. They also could just allow it to ride and see how it plays out. So name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Michael Wilderman, excuse me. I almost said Wilderman, which I don't think is how you pronounce that one, Michael. So I'm sorry. Who are your 8 division winners? All right, AFC South. I'm gonna go with Houston. I think that probably is probably the favorite. AFC North. I'll go Ravens, but you can almost guarantee the Steelers finish above 500, and that's all they do. And the Bengals will probably be a playoff team if they can get the defense playing at top 20 instead of bottom 10. AFC West. I'll take Chiefs. AFC East, I'll go Bills. Guess I'll go Packers in the NFC North, but I'm not confident on that one. That's going to be a hell of a division. NFC East, how can I not take the AFC? The curse is real. The curse is real, but I guess I'll go Philadelphia since they did just win the Super Bowl. NFC West, I'm going to go Rams on that one. NFC South, let me run it back with the Bucks, but I am kind of tempted by Atlanta too. Dr. Pancake, which rookie QB will win the most games next season in 2026? I'm going to go with Cam Ward just because that's the one that I feel most confident is actually going to start in 2026. I think there's still uncertainty everywhere else. Like, there are scenarios in which, like, the Saints draft a new QB early next year and the Giants have success with Russ and keep him and give Jackson Dart more time, or they don't have success and then it's a new regime and it gets dicey there. Epic Jet, you think the Browns picked Shedeur because Jimmy overrode Andrew Berry? Maybe? I don't know. The Browns' handling of the QB stuff I thought was pretty weird. Like, why would you take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd just to take Shedeur in the 5th? Like, did you need both of them? Like, how does that competition bear out? Like, it wouldn't surprise me. It's not like, Haslam has meddled before. It'd be nice if they just went, yeah. Because my mindset was, if you're going to take Dylan Gabriel, then you probably just were out on Shedeur, period. Because, like, I don't think Dylan Gabriel's a better player than Shedeur Sanders. I don't believe that. But then to take it Shedeur later, it makes me think, okay, so he wasn't off your board, unless it gets really dicey. And I do think Gabriel's going to be a good backup QB. But I am inclined to think that, yeah, ownership. QB is an ownership call in part anyway, so I do think ownership had some influence. We did not get to your question. My apologies, but good news. My Twitter DMs are open. Please send me NFL questions so I don't just get a bunch of part-time hotel job offers and crypto scams and other stuff that I don't want to deal with on Twitter. So hit me up at What's Going Downey.